Easy. All right, are we on? We good? How are you guys going? Lunch was good? Yeah? I have the most amazing cue cards from the marketing team. Thank you for organising this. I know they said don't say that, Dave, to start, and I said I'm definitely going to. So I'm going to read mine, which says, thank you, Danielle. I'm Dave, Head of Product Marketing at Content Square. You know what I wish it had have said, though? I'm Crocodile Dundee. I hunt crocodiles, and I carry a really big knife. Okay, we're talking about tech stacks. But first I've got to guess. Who's the longboarder? Anyone want to hazard a guess who we think the longboarder is on this stage? I'm going to go with Scott on the far end. Scott, I think you're from Southern California, are you not?
I am from Southern California.
I reckon you're the longboarding champion. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ah, got one right. That leaves two. And we're dying to find out who the cat person is, aren't we? But I'm going with the States first because Rachel here is Head of Global Agency Partner Program and America's Channel Sales. Channel sales. I reckon that involves a little bit of travel. I reckon you're 49 out of 50 states.
Correct.
Who missed out on your visit?
Alaska. Gotta make it to Alaska.
Isn't there 52 states, or is that just my ignorance? I'm actually deadly serious, but anyway. Eric, that means you're the cat guy.
That leaves me.
Do you want to explain yourself?
My family outed me on this one, actually, when answering the question. But the truth is, we have 4 adopted cats, so...
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So was this your wife that did this to you?
You got it.
Be careful, because she's tuning in.
Yeah.
Hey, awesome to be on this panel with this team. What I'm going to do is actually get them to introduce themselves. And I asked them to do this in a way that you would be explaining it to your mum and dad. Because you guys have literally just eaten, and you probably, when someone starts talking and they talk all tech, your eyes glaze over in your head. So we're going to try and do this in a way that makes it really, really simple. So Rachel, why don't you go first?
Hi, everyone. Rachel Pfeffer, based here in New York. And I work for Bloomreach. Bloomreach is an AI-powered collection of tools that allow merchants, online merchants, to deliver personalized experiences, leveraging their customer data. So we have a customer data engine, an analytics suite, and cross-channel marketing technology. And we pair that with best-in-class product data through Bloomreach Discovery, which is a search, merchandising, and SEO tool.
Very good. What do you think? I heard AI.
Understand it?
Yeah, we're good? All right, who's next?
All right. Good seeing all of you. Eric Stoll, CEO of a digital agency called ARC. We're in Atlanta. And really simply, we help companies design and strategize great ways of engaging your customer and then helping you build the technology to implement that and continue to make it better using the data insights coming from tools like this.
Awesome. Surf's up, Scott.
Indeed. My name is Scott Hutchins. I'm currently the VP of Solutions Engineering at User Testing. Before that, I ran our data and AI team. And before that, I was CTO at a startup that was acquired by User Testing. User testing, oh shoot. My parents, since entrepreneurship, have learned never just ask. They're like, he does computer stuff. But what user testing does is user testing helps brands generate human insight from working directly with their customers and prospects. And we normally do that by generating usability study videos in all sorts of different ways, moderated and unmoderated, but really help companies make decisions with input from customers and prospects.
Awesome. So, guys, we have a poll that we're going to go to right now. So now you have actually got to do something yourself. We're all talking about the importance of delivering great experiences, which is what a tech stack also enables you to do by integrating this. We did joke around and say we were going to say the opposite of everything that was true, so we won't talk about AI. We're talking about how gut decisions are actually really, really great because it's a lot more exciting when you get to the end. But
you got to talk about AI.
We are going to talk about AI? We have to now, don't we? Because you mentioned it.
Could you not?
So let's have a look at why teams aren't getting the experiences that people love, seek, and deserve. And Interesting. What do you guys think of these results so far? It's pretty cool that we're seeing this in real time. How are you guys going with the technology? Good user experience out there? Looks like it's going all right. So, not surprisingly, siloed teams. Any surprises from you guys on these results?
No surprises there at all.
No?
No.
No.
I keep wanting to see if someone, like, if there's a, like, sneak finisher where one shoots up.
All right, so thanks everyone for voting. Yeah, I mean, look, all of them are probably examples of where, you know, we face issues with trying to deliver that great digital experience. You probably heard from us this morning, if you were paying attention, about how we have an intent to acquire product analytics as important, because it's all about bringing it all together, which is what the tech stack is all about as well. So let's have a talk about that to get started. Eric, I think we're going Scott with you, I think, is first up on this question. Why should teams integrate? And what is a tech stack?
Well, I mean, they go together, right? So, you know, if we're trying to create a great customer experience digitally, it needs to be seamless, it needs to be easy to use, it needs to break the barriers of what's happening in this room physically and what's happening digitally. And a tech stack is really anything that touches the customer digitally or supports that. So that's actually a pretty wide range of technology. And I think we just saw some of the pain points here: siloed teams, complexity, and all of those start contributing to, like, you got to pick the right tools that meet the vision for your organization.
The one thing I think about, though, when I think about tech stacks, is normally different layers of the stack have different teams who use them, and there's kind of different ways that those teams like to do business, do presentations, all of these different things. So when you have an integration, it does more than just allow data to flow back and forth. It allows for teams who might organically, frictionally interface to have an interface that makes that kind of a codified experience. So that's the main thing that goes back to me is it's not just having access to the right data, it's having access to data in a way that kind of facilitates teams to not have the friction that they might have had before.
Yeah, I think that to add on to that, so, you know, working with SI partners for many years, seeing some of the challenges, and I think that what I hear is that stacks that are not API first, composable, allow you to integrate with other systems, limit teams, limits our merchants, and in addition to that, you know, the lack of the ability to look across the organization to see what technologies are already being used. They wind up going and buying multiple duplicative technologies that aren't required. And then I think finally, I think there's AI is now changing the game here around the ability to merge some of these tech together. But yeah, some of the challenges are.
Do you see that as a buying decision? Do you start out by thinking about your integrated tech stack first and looking at how they integrate before you go and say, we're just making a decision on this one platform? I knew I was going to throw a question. We had questions we were supposed to follow, and I've already broken the rules, like within about 1 second. But anyway, let's see how we go.
That's fine. I think, yeah, you have to look ahead. You have to be pretty visionary. I think that I agree with you. Picking tools that are API first, that are composable, that are purpose-built to do something extremely well is important. And in order to pick the right tools, you have to have an idea of where you're going with this platform. So the integration itself might not be the thing driving it, but breaking down the barriers and creating a great customer experience should be the #1 thing driving those decisions.
Yeah, I would say focus on the customer, focus on what the customer really wants, look at their data points, and I would also say look at what's going to add the highest value, not just only from a revenue standpoint, but from an operational efficiency standpoint.
Yeah, this might sound kind of crazy, especially from the engineering side, but I think it's great that there are salespeople in the world. No one would expect that from me, but I think it's great because there's different companies and some people are just in a stack. They love, and whoever offers this and that stack, we're all in on this company and we only do that. But it's great for salespeople to also be able to make the case for we're a best-in-breed vendor that's outside of that can give some competitive arbitrage or other things that don't exist. So that's kind of where I see it most of the time is there might be a natural tendency to go towards, oh, that's already in the suite of tools, but I think having APIs allows for teams to be able to say, no, this is a best-in-breed vendor, and we really want to make sure that we can lock that in.
So as we talk about, do you want to add?
I would just say also, like, oftentimes internal teams might have the desire to go and build themselves, and I think sometimes that's a big loss to the company and a big expense. Look, I bet you there's some tech out there that has, or some company that's built that integration. So look out for existing middleware, existing integrations in the market and leverage.
How do you get the teams aligned? Is this one way of doing it, by having an integration? But like, what's the best practice for getting these teams to align and agree on this is the tech stack that we want?
I'll jump on that one first. I think, like, ultimately, someone's making a decision today. It's just maybe off of the gut, maybe it's off of, allowing two different executives who oversee two different tech stacks to fight it out in front of someone else. So there is a process that just might be super ugly today. So I think often it's kind of being able to facilitate that and show that this allows for these two different organizational units and the underlying tech that powers those to be able to kind of combine. So I think that's where a lot of times you won't have a one-size-fits-all answer. It's going to be based off of those two organizational units being able to say, like, yeah, this actually will allow us to work better.
I think having kind of a roadmap of where you want to go as an organization and aligning on that roadmap and maturity curve as well. There's a lot of eye candy in the market. There's so many different technologies to choose from today. It's like hard to know where to start. But there's probably another merchant in the world that has done what you've done to some level or extent. So look at the competition, look at what they've done well and what they haven't done well, and learn from that and build your own maturity curve and understand where you are in that curve, more importantly, and then align across the organization to say, this is where we are today, agree on that, and then you can make a smart decision about how to progress on that maturity curve.
So it's not about the best lunch from a sales rep. You don't make decisions based on that.
That can weigh in, but no.
I would advise, let's make decisions, right? Let's start getting some tools in there. Let's learn what the customer needs. There's a lot of technology in the world, and you have an ERP system that you don't change for 30 years, right? This is customer-facing technology. We have to be nimble and be able to adjust fast. I think that's another key thing. We can build all these integrations, but this is a conversation, and it's a limited conversation because it's through a screen. But we learn from that, and we have to be able to adapt quickly.
Yeah, so you got to experiment, right? Yeah. Like you got to try these things out. If you're going to continue to innovate, you have to try, fail fast. But you've got to at least put yourself out there and try these things, right? Speaking of failing, Scott, you've got a great question lined up for this one. Tell us an example of a company that's really got it wrong.
Yeah, so, I won't mention names. How about that?
Maybe don't mention them.
Yeah, hey, I see you right there. Actually, I think this one is kind of interesting because it sounds like it's anti-data, which I know if I did that, I'd probably get gasps from this crowd. But it's actually not anti-data. It's how you analyze the data. So one of the things I've seen that really would have went wrong, but it actually got prevented at the 11th hour was, we were talking earlier about how do you make decisions, and in kind of the shorthand so that it wasn't this long, nuanced answer earlier was, this specific for Obama's campaign, this has the highest conversion rate, so that's the one we went with. But one of the challenges is the averages might throw out some of the minority or smaller stakeholders that would have otherwise gotten washed over. So at user testing, because we kind of have these usability videos, one of the things we saw for ours was you have all this data, but then you see someone who says, that actually really hurt me. Like this branding that the majority of people it resonates with this one group, ooh, you're really going to turn them off. And then all of a sudden you'll see that majority changes their opinion. So one of the things that's great with the tech stack is you can analyze all the data and not just revert to the means so that you can pick those things up. So that's one of the things that we saw was you collect the data, not just to compute an average. You collect the data in order to find out what's the true shape of the risk, because you might have some long tails in there.
That's interesting. I'm not going to name names either, but I see organizations making decisions on short-term needs. How are we doing this quarter? How are we doing? You got to make some of these technology decisions with a vision in mind and not just what's going to work today, because you're going to outgrow it if you don't think a little bit beyond that. And I guess the other thing I might say is just be careful to choose platforms and tools that are purpose-built, very focused on what they do and what they do extremely well. There's a lot of overlap between tools, and they all do a little bit of things that the next one does. But I would just beware of tools that say they do everything, right? Because if they do everything, they do nothing really well. And I see organizations fall into that.
So I'm in product marketing, so I'm making notes to myself. Don't overdo it. Rachel, what about companies that are doing this really well? Have you got examples of integrating tech stacks that are really working?
Yeah, so Bloomreach has a fantastic customer, Jensen USA. They sell bikes online, apparel, and bike accessories. And they were using our tool, Bloomreach Discovery, to help with segment-based merchandising because and segment-based search. They have 30,000 SKUs, and they wanted to create the right experience for mountain bikers versus road bikers and so on. But they wanted to get even more personalized. They wanted to really understand their customer and do more one-to-one personalization based on the preferences of each individual. So they integrated with Bloomreach Engagement, which is our customer data engine, and were able to really leverage the power of the technology of ingesting the data from across their entire stack and across all their marketing channels to further personalize every visit. And the result was pretty impressive. So they were able to see an 8% lift in revenue per visitor immediately and a 25% revenue lift per visitor on mobile, where the device is smaller and there's a more limited product set.
A lot of the times we hear stats like this, and you go, that's a significant uplift, and we go, yeah, and people know that they should be doing this, but they're not doing it. Is it a hard thing to do, or is it really just like, you just have to try it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is around organizational focus, right? And understanding what is important to you. For them, they knew personalization is where we're going to win in the market. So understanding their goals and just committing to it. And then, of course, we make it easy for them.
Eric, Scott, what do you think? Other brands, have you seen other brands who are being successful in their pursuits?
I've seen a couple examples that are pretty incredible. One is a restaurant brand, and they thought, I'm going back 10 years, that ordering food at the register was the most important touch point, right? And then they had this epiphany that no one wants to tell a 17-year-old what buttons to push on a cash register, right? How do we do that through the phone? So instead of investing in, well, they still invest in that experience, but they invested in the APIs, and they've digitized the entire business through an API so that they can change out the front end, change out the app, change out the website, change out the back end. Everything is plug and play, and they can adapt extremely fast because that API is incredible. And the other thing I think they do well is they will reorganize their teams frequently. You mentioned the silos, right? And so take your team, change it up. Don't just have an email team or a social team or a web team. Change it up. Work around the login experience. Reorganize around registration. You'd be surprised what you'll learn just by changing the patterns of behavior in your organization.
And yeah, I'll keep this one short, but I'll just give a shout out to financial services. I thought they really actually did a great job of using different technology stacks to solve the problems that emerged from COVID. I think a lot of them were caught pretty flat-footed in how do we do this entire digital transformation really quickly. And I think I certainly didn't expect it, but I think a lot of them jumped in, tested things out, and were able to leverage a lot of different solutions together. So I think it might have been out of necessity, but I think that was just one space that we really saw it really recently.
COVID was such a good example of creating urgency, wasn't it? It was something where we probably all thought we could continue to go down this path, but there was this moment that it was like, oh, we have to double down on this. This has to become a priority. Do you guys agree with and you're still seeing it? We're 2 years, have we gone back to complacency, or do we still have this urgency?
I think we still have the urgency. I think we haven't forgotten what that was, but we also haven't forgotten the positive impact in ways that urgency has had. So I don't want to forget that, and I want to keep pushing the boundaries of these experiences.
Yeah, and I think even as we see this return to office wave, I think the experience economy hasn't gone away. You're starting to see employees be like, ooh, I don't like that part of the experience. And so now companies are kind of using different digital technologies, even in the return to office, to try and say, at least we're listening to you. Like maybe not doing the next step of acting on it yet, but I think they're doing a pretty good job of saying we're listening to you to make these changes. So even when we see some things unwinding, is more and more people are coming into the office post-COVID, I think they haven't given up on like, hey, I've seen the other side, and it was nice working in a full remote, full digital world.
It's horrible to say and to suggest that it was a good thing, because obviously naturally it wasn't a good thing, but there were things that came out of it that benefited us, and I think we got to rebalance and we improve digital experiences. As we look forward now, what technologies are you really excited about aside from your own? You like that last part?
Well, well, we talked about AI and how it's really, powering the future.
AI, what's AI?
I mean, I think of it as like, I worked years ago at a company called WorldMeet, where we thought it was really cool to have world time on your BlackBerry. And I think we're kind of at that stage again with AI and what's coming in the future. If you think back, that it wasn't that long ago where well, I guess to some of us, but where that was the coolest thing. But we're now at the very early stages of what AI is going to deliver into the world. If we look at telemetry and patient experience and being able to start to see like diagnosis really early on around and how to and medicines that can cure a patient even before the nurses and doctors are able to identify it. To me, that's one of the most powerful things that's coming. But specifically in the CX space, personalized assistance to be able to help someone and have an in-store like experience digitally, leveraging generative AI to understand the product data set and the customer data set all at once. This kind of tech is really booming, and also like tech internally. So we had an AI conference a few weeks ago, and a lot of people are talking about, okay, should I be doing something? What am I doing? Like, what do I need to be doing here? Am I behind? Am I not behind? And I think like the outcome that we saw from this conference was that two things. One is a lot of companies are starting to use it for internal use cases to improve their efficiency. And two is they don't have to create the AI tech on their own. They can invest in the companies that are investing in AI.
Yeah, really good point. And I love the point about personalized. I mean, you want to talk about personalized health, that is really exciting with the application of AI. So you've gone beyond like, well, we can just do product descriptions automatically generated on our website, but you're actually thinking a little bit bigger, which is nice. Eric, what about yourself? What are you most excited about?
I think just I think AI is definitely part of it, but where is it going? Because now we can create content and make informed decisions at 1,000th of the cost and effort as it used to take, right? But now that we have that ability, we have to consume even more and more of this data and react to it even faster. So I think it sounds like magic to me when I hear quantum computing, but I kind of think like, okay, that's going to be the thing that's going to next disrupt our world, because we'll be able to consume and decision data so much faster at a massive scale.
Yeah, mine is actually a different take on AI. I was actually talking to some of the panelists who are coming up later about this, but I think like we've all just rolled out, probably most of us have rolled out some sort of AI internally, and now the question is like we're at a Content Square thing, and I work at user testing. It's like, how do you instrument your stuff? How do you test that? And it's raising a lot of different questions that like I don't think most of us are prepared to answer. Like before you could say like, oh, this is a good experience or a bad experience, and there were specific like frameworks and proxy variables you could use. Like, oh, when someone's on this page, they had a frustrating experience. When someone was interacting with a chatbot, they might have liked the first part of it, and then the middle part, it seemed like it got confused. So how do you measure all those things? So I think that's the part that, I went to USC, not MIT, so like building the AI, I'm not going to do that. Like I know that there's someone who went to MIT that's going to do that, but for me it's like, okay, how do I go leverage that in a way that makes it actionable for others? And I think that historically in software there were so many abstractions that you could leverage and have conversations with, and now there's terms like hallucinations and kind of like indeterminate states, and how do you even facilitate the conversation? So that's the part of the technology that's most interesting to me, is how do we instrument it? How do we test it? All the things that we used to be able to assert, how do we build the language to even have the conversation?
Awesome. So we're out of time, but we've really enjoyed our conversation up here. I'm going to throw one last question at these guys. Is AI going to wipe out humanity?
I'll just say no.
Not a chance.
There's a small chance.
Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks, guys.